And transitioning from your career at Yahoo, in a previous interview, you were asked to give an example of going against the flow, and you cited your decision to join Sony Music, and how much you gained from doing so. I was wondering why it's so important to do this early in your career and like how that decision impacted you.
The first half of my career, I really spent trying to define myself as a consumer internet and like entertainment internet guy or tech plus entertainment guy. And in some ways that was misguided in what I now realize in the second half of, maybe I'm still in the first half, I don't know, the second third of my career, or I don't know, second inning, whatever it is. I don't do consumer internet. I hardly ever. I don't do a lot of entertainment tech. I do think managing a large team, having enough resources to build things, managing politically challenging environments, dealing with big personalities, steering through a pivot, all those things that I did while I was at Sony Music were incredibly valuable. But in some ways, like I probably shouldn't have spent as much time as I did in the entertainment sector, because there are things that I do now that probably would have benefited if I had done more of earlier. Like I knew nothing about healthcare, I knew nothing about aerospace and defense, knew very little about enterprise SaaS. I just assumed that I wouldn't want to do that, or never even thought about doing some of that stuff. And I don't know, but hindsight is 2020.
I thought it was really interesting how you thought through the process of actually developing kind of the Techstars space program. And then I was wondering, obviously, as someone who's not native to this aerospace engineering, like how did you even start to build that, or how did you kind of cobble together the ability to discern, okay, these are the 12 companies that we're going to start out in the cohort, and this is what we're going to go with, and how do you even build a program that you don't even have any technical expertise about?
What I learned from the healthcare program is surround yourself with enough experts in the field who really know what they're talking about, so that you can get their technical subject matter expertise as well as their industry expertise, and have me focus on business fundamentals, team dynamics, cap table, really the psychology of the founders, pressure, act like a consultant and try to get, in 20% of the time, 80% of the smart. I can kind of fill in the gaps with the PhDs and the industry veterans that I have access to through the partners I worked with. And so, I've positioned myself in venture as being the smartest dumb guy in the room, or the dumbest smart guy in the room. I don't know, however you want to put it. Like I do not pretend to know anything. I am very clear whenever I go into any meeting with a founder. I know nothing about your industry. I know nothing about your technical background. I know nothing. Like if you tell me you've got a nuclear power system and you say it works, I have no way to verify if that's true personally. But I'm going to have you talk to this person over here who I know is going to ask all the right questions and tell me whether you're selling smoke and mirrors or whether this is real. And so my entire investment strategy is built around find the subject matter experts, focus on the thing I know, which is, are these great founders? Can they, do they have the grit, the ambition, the raw talent to really make a go of this and have the sticking power to push through every problem that is going to inevitably go their way? I think you experience that as a founder yourself, or not being successful as a founder yourself. Like I think that I'm a better investor than I ever was a founder. I think that 98% of the companies I've invested in are led by CEOs who are much better CEOs than I ever was or ever would want to be. So I do think that experience being a founder and recognizing my limitations makes me a better investor, though.
And I was just curious, because I know you mentioned that he's a mentor, and we think it's actually really important about mentorship. So what do you think made him a great mentor for you? And is there any kind of commonality that other students can do to kind of find someone like that?
And to be clear, Cody is one of many wonderful mentors that I have. And I'm always looking for people who are either in different sectors or in the same sector, but further ahead in their career. I also learn, there's this notion of like being mentored by people who are younger than you, especially if you're doing anything in technology or entertainment where culture matters. And, as a 40-year-old white dude, you don't know what's evolving and what's innovative. Like I might have had my finger on the pulse better when I was, 23 working at Yahoo than I'm at 40, but I have fingers on different pulses now. So I think it's important to have mentors, across all different areas of your life who challenge your thinking, and also, inspire you to be a better leader. I don't know. I have a lot of mentors. We believe so much in mentorship. Like I have 400 mentors that work with my companies in Techstars, LA, healthcare and space. I personally have at least a dozen or so mentors that I work with in venture, in healthcare, in aerospace. I get mentored by my company. It's like I'm learning all the time. Every time I pick another 12 companies, it's so that I can learn, about their industry, and I learn a ton from my founders.
I think it was really interesting when you said previously that you were happy when your mentees like outgrew your need for your network, and applying that to yourself, having so many mentors in different industries, different networks. How do founders know when they're ready to find a new mentor, and can they keep in connection with their previous mentors?
My best founders are always looking to find people who are 2 to 3 steps ahead of them, and that does start to get into rarefied air. I have a founder who's raised a couple $100 million, and he's when he is looking to surround himself with mentors who are going to up his game. He's aiming at publicly traded CEO, companies, CEOs of publicly traded companies, and people who have exited for multi-billion dollars. But I do think it's important that at every stage you're looking at people who are 2 steps ahead, and you could easily use venture math and just say, if I'm at Series A, then I need to be surrounding myself at Series C. But if you're looking around the room and all of a sudden your mentors aren't significantly ahead of where you are in your career and industry, then you probably need new mentors.